The first round of the 2024 NBA playoffs have officially come and gone, which means that 8 teams' years have ended earlier than they would have wanted it to. In this video, we are going to talk about each of them in detail and see where they go from here. Seems simple enough, right? Exactly. First, but not the most important, we are going to talk about the Phoenix Suns, or as I would like to call them from now on, the 3 bus riders, because none of those dudes know how to lead a team to glory. Simply off the bat, why does Frank Vogel still have a job? They messed up by letting go of Monty Williams because he had an issue with a player who doesn't even play for the squad anymore. Ridiculous, ridiculous. With that being said, Kevin Durant's legacy is tarnished. Of course, he still has 2 championships, and of course, he is one of the top scorers of all time, if not top 3, top 5. But having 2 failed super teams under his belt is not an actual good look. Draymond Green was right. The star player of 2 failed super teams when he cried his way out of situations to get to those super teams is a bad look, is a bad joint and a half. Devin Booker, empty calorie player, like I've been saying all of my young life. I've always been a hater, and each year he always proves me right. Good looks, D-Book. The man can score. I'm going to give him that. But what does that matter if your team isn't going to win, nor put that to use? Tell me when Devin Booker has made an NBA team better. Actually made an NBA team better. Overrated. And Bradley Beal, which we shouldn't even give spotlight on this because homie pulled a Ben Simmons and stole a check this season. So what can they do to right their ship if they can? 1, during the offseason, they need to find an identity. Who are the Phoenix Suns? Because to get swept is OD. 2, they need a point guard, preferably a young one that can actually run the whole offense. The Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James. Los Angeles is cooked beyond absolute imagination, in my humble opinion. I said it once, I've said it twice, and I'll say it again at this stage in his career. LeBron James cannot be your best player if you are expecting to go far in the playoffs. And that's not a slight on LeBron. We already know that this man is the GOAT, if not the second in command GOAT. But you had homie almost tearing his ACL out of his leg, slipping on floors, trying to win games for you. Bad John, bad John. It should be AD at this point, who did play a very good series, but they need help. LeBron James needs help. The things that I think that the Lakers should look forward to get better would be to, 1, get a reputable coach in this John, one that LeBron can't necessarily push around, one that will establish boundaries. 2nd, obviously, D'Angelo Russell is gone. That's a duh. And 3rd, the Lakers definitely have to start thinking about life after Bron, or maybe that's a question. Maybe they somehow draft Bronny James to continue that cycle, but yeah. Looking at the Orlando Magic, I got to say a good job to them because they definitely did try. Bulls showed a good fight, pushing the Cavs to 7 games. The future is actually looking bright, especially if they're able to develop all of their players, because it definitely looked good for a moment during those 7 games, but then it all went to hell. But it's all good because that's what happens when you have a young team. So the things that I think that this organization should look for, or to look to add going into the next year, is to continue to develop Paolo Banchero. They should get a veteran presence in their locker room that can supplement some experience with the guys. That was probably the reason why they didn't win against the Cavaliers. Overall, I just really can't hate on this team because they definitely did well. Again, the future is bright. Milwaukee Bucks is interesting because they was actually my finals pick going into the season when it first began. After the Dame trade, I thought, look, shoot, playoff basketball is about clutchness and heart, and who else is going to have as much clutchness and heart as these two, as a Giannis and Dame tandem? And we all saw how that turned out. Simply put, Giannis ruined the season because of his ego. If he doesn't complain about the Coach Griffin, maybe they don't go out and get Glenn Rivers, and maybe then Giannis doesn't have to overcompensate on the court and thus not get injured. So if there's somebody you want to blame, Bucks fans, it's your boy, the Greek Freak. I don't necessarily think that Milwaukee is at a bad place other than their coach per se. Well, having Glenn as a coach, you are cursed. But overall, I believe all they really have to do is just regroup for next season. just get everybody healthy on the right track. And another thing, just specifically get Giannis out of outstanding team affairs. Let the front office be the front office. For the Miami Heat, they just had a bad luck of the draw with injuries this year. After Jimmy went down, John was done. They definitely did give a good, valiant effort, at least for game 2 against the Celtics. But if you don't have a core of Jimmy, Jaime Jaquez, Rozier, who they thought would have been a good replacement for Kyle Lowry, all to not play. Without those pieces, they were not going to win. I'm not sure where Miami goes from here. It's not as if they don't have a good core that has competed for championships before. At the very least, they always have lock in place rotational players that they can just essentially replace each time that they need to. Miami is weird in this sense. You can't count them out, but it definitely does look like their glory days are behind them. The Los Angeles Clippers, simply disrespectful, man. Like, in my opinion, I don't really think there's nothing else to say other than their title chances are now over for real, for real. If we are going to be honest here, this was supposed to be their season where everything came together, trading for James Harden, putting all the actual chips on the table, and they lose in the first round against Kyrie and Luka. That is crazy. Now, of course, people are going to blame Russell Westbrook, and there definitely is some, blame to be placed on his shoulders with all those bricks. But the fact that the team legit had no chemistry going into that playoffs is definitely telling. Definitely telling. The superstar era is dead in the NBA. But at the very least, I guess they'll have a new stadium next season. Things for them that they have to figure out is, one, what is the real pecking order of the squad? I believe Paul George is the only one that's not under contract, or is the only one that is not the only one of the big 3 or 4, if you want to include Russ, that is not under contract. Once they get that settled, if he's going to stay or not, what is the pecking order of your team? And then 2, just get younger, because the Clippers are old as hell. The New Orleans Pelicans, unfortunately, irrelevant. I'm sorry if you are a Pels fan, but the truth of the matter is they are in NBA purgatory. Good enough to go to the playoffs, but not good enough to win a chip, nor get a decent draft pick. And this is all because of, one, Zion Williamson and him not being able to stay healthy on the floor. Number 1 priority this summer is to lock that same dude, Zion, in a gym and keep him off his phone. It is simple in my opinion. If they do that, then maybe they can have some consistency next year, because it's wild how when Zion is playing, the Pels are one of the best teams in the league. Brandon Ingram is also going to be off contract soon. So, NBA purgatory. And finally, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Another year that the team has lost in the playoffs in embarrassing fashion. And this time, it is not the second round. It is the first round, of course. Now, many of you know that this is my hometown team, my favorite team, unfortunately, that I will not say in public anymore. But they are still the Geysers. So naturally, I am used to how this feels at this point of the year. A lot of adrenaline and hope, which then gets crushed into little bite-sized tiny pieces. The process ended a few years ago, and we have nothing to show for it other than Tyrese Maxey, who is here. I'm going to give them that. Tyrese Maxey saved the franchise, as we always say. There's no excuse. We lost in the first round. We got worse than what we were last year under Glenn Rivers. Crazy. Definitely going to go into more in-depth about this with a video that I'll probably drop during the weekend. But what they need to do is, 1, first and foremost, pay Tyrese Maxey, and 2, get a wing to help them in the playoffs. Lord have mercy.